Okay, it says we're live. Yay! This week's disasters. I'm not going to touch Atlanta. I don't want anything to do with the subject. The whole rest of this week has been one long series of disasters. We've got um, we've got vaccine issues everywhere. We've got new protests, which that's just what do you want me to say at this point? When you do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, it's kind of mind-boggling that people even bother at this point. Um, so on that note, the Derek Chauvin trial has just started, and already the case has been made that there can't be a fair trial. Somebody's asked to be removed from the case because he's afraid his house will be burned to the ground. Yeah, okay, that's great. That's great. That's exactly what you need for a jury to be thinking is if I don't find this guy guilty, no matter what, my house will be burned to the ground. But it gets worse. It gets worse. Oh, the Portland was on fire again. Now, granted, apparently it went over pretty quickly. I was in Portland this week. Um, on Saturday, I was up in Portland. I didn't see any signs of it. Well, apparently it turned out the the riot had happened on Friday or Thursday, excuse me. By the time I heard about it on Friday, it was actually over, but there was still some the hangers on and looky loos. When we got there Saturday, it was really, really over. This is not the kind of message you want people to be hearing. Is even if they're considering more, not less options, people will riot. I want to lean into this a little bit because this is the story I'm getting, and it's really pretty clear. All right, there's apparently three classes of murder for Wisconsin. First degree, you left your house with the intention of killing this person for whatever reason. This person was going to die today, or at least that was your intention. Second degree, you didn't actually think about it, you just kind of did it. Second degree is usually used in cases of another crime where somebody died as a foreseeable result of the crime itself. And that wasn't actually the plan. Your plan wasn't go in there and kill everybody and take the drugs or take the whatever or do whatever. But that's how it ended up happening. And then there's third degree, where you did something you shouldn't have been doing. Okay. And death was not a intended or necessarily foreseeable result, but it was something you should have known could have happened. They're mad because now the judge has instated third degree murder as an option. Okay. And they want him tried and convicted for third degree only. Wait, what? You want him tried and convicted of the lesser possible charge, and you're willing to set fire to a city to make that happen. Does that even make irrational sense? Hey, Troll. Um, thank you for Troll for the quick comments. I know you're there, although I kind of guessed you would be. You're always here. Um, Control and Totes are two of the people I would really love to get in here someday. Okay. I'm trying very hard to understand this logic, if you can ever call it that. You want this guy tried and convicted of the least possible charge available, and you're willing to kill people and break things to make that happen. What are you people thinking, right? I want to emphasize, because I went back over to the other tab. This week's disasters. That's the title of this live stream. This week's disasters. Well, that's a pretty big disaster. You shot yourselves in the foot twice in the process, and I can't understand how this mental state works. But it gets worse. HR 1442, I believe, the House version of the gun control bill, that passed. All right. First of all, stop panicking. I know you're following this channel because you don't support gun control, or because you want to see what somebody who doesn't support gun control is going to say about it. Stop panicking or stop cheering. It isn't quite what you think yet. All right. First of all, it would have to pass the Senate, and right now the Senate is deadlocked. 50%, 50 of them are Republicans or caucusing with Republicans, and 50 of them are Democrats or caucusing with Democrats. It's going nowhere. It will get voted down. All right. On the GOP side of the Senate, it won't pass. It will get maybe 2 votes. Probably not that much, but let's give it that much. There are some Republicans and some conservatives who support gun control. Simple as that. On the DNC side, there are a lot of gun control opponents. And I mean opponents, as in repeal the Hughes and NFA level opponents. Would I say it's 10? No. That would be like 20%. Would I say it's 5? Actually, I can name 3 of the 5 as of this time last year. I forgot the names now. One of them surprisingly was Tulsi. She wouldn't have repealed NFA, but she would not have voted in favor of any new gun control. No, not without a whole lot for it. I'm not too worried about 1442 getting into and through the Senate. What I am concerned about is and this is an idea that's been floated by at least a half a dozen other people before me. Once they get it down there and they get to hearing what is supported and what is opposed, they're going to take the little bits and pieces that at least had some support. Let's say 10-round magazine ban. And they're going to put it as a rider on a defense bill or a housing bill or something where it clearly doesn't belong. It doesn't belong anywhere, but it clearly doesn't belong there, and get it passed that way. That's why McConnell has flat out said he has not flat out said he's going to filibuster this, but he's flat out said that the filibuster can be used for other things as well. And he's not going to let it go. I want to take a moment to talk about the Hughes Amendment in particular. I ever since I really got into what the Hughes Amendment is and where it comes from, I've been very ambivalent. I wasn't a big supporter before because it did make sense before. What it says is, as of I think it was uh, August of 1986, no new machine guns can be manufactured. That never made sense. That really didn't. And it doesn't even really say that. It says you have to have a license to make them. Okay, so what? You go and get the license. 90% of us, myself included, that's not an option. For the 10% of us that is an option, maybe 1% would actually go there and do that. And they tend to be either businesses that work in that industry or malcontents who do it just to piss off the feds. And okay, that's fine. I fully understand that. Um, it's always been a toothless giant, and I never really understood why it got passed. But then I saw the video of it passing and realized that this was the worst backdoor ban possible, and it doesn't even work. And that's just amazing. Right? How can you come up with a worse plan? I can think of a few ways, but not too many. All right, but that's all right. 1442 is actually going to die in the Senate, but they're going to take those little bits and pieces that they think will carry, that they think would have carried it had it been a little less hostile a Senate, put them elsewhere. And that's something we've really got to pay attention to. And I'm not going to lie to you, I don't have the ability to follow those. That you can hide those writers in some really, really weird places. You would have to watch each and every bill going through Congress to find those writers. Some of them you would actually have to stop and read it line by line. A simple example: an agricultural bill that says, from this day forward, uh, this kind of agricultural related chemical can no longer be manufactured in the United States, or can no longer be used in the United States, or can't be used for that purpose. Okay, that sounds great because it's malathion, it's DDT, it's fill in the blank. There's like 1,000 others. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. This is a great law. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't care right now. And then they attach this, 10 round magazine or barrel shroud ban to it. And that's exactly what they're going to do. And you've got to watch each and every one of these things coming out because they're not going to tell you, oh, yeah, by the way, we put the barrel shroud ban on that ag bill, HR ag bill number 5, whatever. There was at one point a push to force writers to be related to the subject. Um, that never happened. So much so, for those of you who maybe are a little older or maybe a little younger, there's an episode of The Simpsons where they actually talk about that very, very briefly. It's the asteroid episode. $10 million to destroy the asteroid that's going to destroy Springfield, and then somebody puts a $2 million writer for education onto it, and it dies. Well, that whole riff came from the fact that writers were being abused and people wanted them gone, and that didn't happen. If it had happened, that episode would have ended very, very differently. Probably wouldn't have ended been made at all. It didn't happen. Congratulations. So those are that's something we've got to watch and watch and watch, and then watch obsessively. And nobody, unless they're literally paid to do nothing but that, can do that. Actually, no one person can. It takes an organization with at least 100 people because you're not just watching defense bills or construction projects, road construction project, or this or that other subject. You got to watch all of them. You have a new bill about healthcare licensing. You could have the writer in there. That's a lot more work than any one person could ever hope to do. Okay. And of course, my whipping boy, Iran, has come out and said they're involved in some of the shit that's been going on, that I've been talking about. And we're still. Their mercenaries in ISIS have come out and said, yeah, we're in the United States. What are you going to do about it? Oh, okay. That's great. So let's start with Iran's involvement. Iran has actually come out and said that we're involved in some of the things that are going on and you can't stop us. And you know what? They're right. We won't. It's not that we can't, it's that we won't. We are not going to step in. Hypothetically speaking, a then seaman was working comms watch at a high value asset cargo unloading evolution when he was told, get your mask on right now, and had never actually had a mask and didn't actually know how to put it on properly. Might have had some idea because of fire training, didn't really know how to put a gas mask on properly. When a container being offloaded from a ship fell and broke open. And nobody's really entirely sure what that container held because it held 3 or 4 different types of chemicals all together because that made it easier to hide. Even though that was a bad idea, it made it easier to hide. And hypothetically speaking, some of the markings on that container might have been Persian. Just saying. But moving right along. Um, Earlier this week, Judicial Watch said, hey, guess what? We've got ISIS who are telling us that something we said 2 years ago, which, by the way, I said 5 years ago, actually did happen. Hey, Leo, we got into Mexico and we crossed the US border. Ha ha ha. What are you going to do about it? Right. This is actually a brilliantly simple and effective solution, right? If you want to put a fire out, simple solution, you pour water on it. If it's grease fire, you put a lid on the pot, right? That's that's simple and it works. A brilliantly complex plan would be to have all this piping and whatever connected to high pressure nozzles and on and on. Oh, excuse me, to put the fire out. And then it damages the equipment and on and on and on from there. Okay. Which one works better? The simple plan, which I've actually seen people do, I seen it happen when I was at Acacia. The baking, because the FS turned away for 2 seconds, actually caught fire. Rather than set the fire alarm, fire suppression system off, just dropped the pan on it and it died. Or does he reach up and set the fire suppression system off? I'm telling you, one of these two plans works a whole lot better. The same principle works for ISIS getting into the United States. Now, I'm going to say this, and it's probably a racist thing to say, and I don't care, it's true. Your average American cannot tell the difference between a Hispanic and a Middle Easterner at a glance. Now, if you've been to the sandbox, even at a glance, you probably know the difference. If you've been with Border Patrol or INS for a few years, you will really notice the difference when you get a good look. Right? You have a guy here, he says he's Guatemalan, but he doesn't really look like he's Guatemalan. He looks strange. And you ask him, was your family Confederates? Confederados? That's Argentina, but work with me here. Or were they German? What's the story here? Oh yeah, I've got a German great grandfather, and I've got a Confederado grandmother, and I've got a this and a that. And I'm a little bit of a mixing pot, but I'm from Guatemala. Okay, and all the paperwork says he's from Guatemala, and he gets by, even sometimes past the professionals. Somebody who's been to the sandbox will take one look and say, no, 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 you're not from Guatemala. All right. And oh, yeah, wait a minute. Didn't I see you in Tikrit in 2006, 2008, somewhere around there? Oh, no, 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 that wasn't me. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. Oh, well, the sandbox veteran, isn't going to be fooled. I'm not even going to lie. I could be fooled. That's the truth. For those of you who are going to be reporting this later, to be perfectly honest, that's anti-white racist, right? By far and beyond, vast majority. White people are going to fall for that. Hispanics probably are not going to fall for it, or at least not as easily. You better have one hell of a funny story to tell. And even then, they're not really going to fall for it, but they're going to say, I can't prove you're lying to me. I know you are, but I can't prove it yet. And I'm watching you. Right, let me catch up with the chat real quick here because it's falling behind. Leo, I did see you. Biden forced the border guards to cut a section out of Trump's wall so the illegals can invade the U.S. I'm not surprised to hear that, but I've been expecting that to come up, but this is the first I've actually heard that it did happen. What do you want me to say? We all knew that was coming. But I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Anon Anarchy. Now, I know I've seen you around before, so Middle Easterners have different facial features, more hairy. You shave like a lot more than I did today, obviously. You can pull it off, especially at a glance, especially at a distance. And some Hispanics, they do look Middle Eastern, though. Yeah. And more importantly, most Middle Easterners could pass for, and you only have to you fake it till you make it 5 minutes. Tell you how far I went down that rabbit hole. Many, many years ago when I was at Cutter Acacia, there was a coffee shop across the street. Now, you ask me now, and I couldn't swear to what I'm about to say, but I'm pretty sure every Thursday they had a special type of coffee. This the cherry wood something or other coffee that I loved so much. It was so wonderful and it smelled so great. And I would, if I could, I would always go and get a cup. Excuse me. I know Charlevoix that well. I know that there's no bridge uh, on the east end of town, just on the west end of town. So if a ship is going in or out, ambulances are going nowhere. And I've seen stood there and watched an ambulance have to stop because the bridge is up. I know that the lighthouse support building, which used to be the Coast Guard station, is green. Is this disgusting lime green color? I know somewhere in the local library there's a book that I would love to find the name of and have a copy because it was about World War II propaganda. I even know that there was a child trafficking related arrest related to the library because I was there the day that they came in and took the computers out. Uh, excuse me, I was there later in the day. The library totally cooperated. The moment the cops showed up and said, "Hey, something's going on. We need to look at these computers," the head librarian and the chief assistant librarian were like, "Do you need help carrying stuff out? Do you need a dolly? What do you want?" They didn't even need a warrant at this point, although I think they had one, and that's the truth. I know that the uh, concrete, excuse me, cement factory, their private pier is made up out of two ships that have been filled with rubble, mulberries. So if you ever want to see a mulberry harbor, go to Lake Michigan, Lower Peninsula, go north about 3/4 of the way along the western coast. You could miss it, but I'm pretty sure you can find it. That's how well I know Charlevoix. I was only there for about a year, well, 2 years. You send, let's say, pick on somebody new for once. A Kuwaiti, a Kuwaiti who runs off and joins ISIS, right? And he proves himself capable as a fighter and trustworthy as a fighter because this guy actually did some shit that they needed done, right? Not suicide bombing, but something short of that. He's capable. He's got the courage. He's got the brain to do it. They say, okay, guess what? We want you to go to Mexico, settle into a little village for about a year, learn the village, and then go to the United States. I guarantee you, he could talk about uh, Villa Paquino as much or better than I can talk about Charlevoix now, 10 years later, because his memories will be that much fresher. All he has to do is get past one, maybe two Americans, tops three, and then just disappear. Okay. So, under the category of this week's disasters, fucking Kerry called it 5 years ago. Go up through Mexico. And if you really want to add some splash and dash, maybe you go to Chile or Bolivia or Brazil. Then you need to learn Portuguese. Well, okay, you learn Portuguese. Our hypothetical Kuwaiti could learn Portuguese go to Bolivia. Somebody in the chat, give me a flag on the play. Excuse me, not Bolivia, Brazil. They speak Portuguese, correct? But you learn Portuguese, you go to Brazil, and then you head north. You spend a couple of years slumming it in this small village and do everything you can to pass yourself off as somebody who moved to this new town looking for work, or rich playboy millionaire who just wants to get out of the capital because capital sucks, right? Spend a year there, maybe even buy a house. Why not buy a house? And the beauty of it is you don't have to do any of the prep work for getting to the United States, right? I'll come to that someday later on down the road. You don't have to do any of it. You just have to live there, learn this village, and then go north. And it's a brilliantly simple plan. Um, Cross the border on foot. Why not? You get 4 or 5 of your buddies together who are doing the same thing, and you could easily hire a coyote to do it, to do the hard part, in partially in exchange for maybe hauling other materials north. Get across the border, you dump the drugs right into the coyote's lap and head off. Now, the moment I heard about the van crash, that was one of the things I thought about. Is this really a Mexicans heading north, or was it Iranian? Because there was 11 Iranians detained at the border a month ago, I guess. Who knows? And by the way, I still haven't been told otherwise. I'm just saying. Oh, now we've got this huge caravan headed north. You know how easy it would be for them to just blend into that crowd and disappear? Even my hypothetical uh, sandbox veteran, you know, Iraq veteran, may not be able to see that many faces that fast. He might say, he might be standing there watching people come through the gate and hold that one, stop that one. What? But he doesn't have enough time to focus on this guy. He might have enough time and focus to have this guy pulled off to the side. He wants to talk to him later, if later comes. Anon Anarchy says, my grandma's from Sonora, Mexico. If an outsider shows up in a small town, it's unlikely for you to just pass off as a random migrant unless you like the sneakiest guy ever and a good liar. That's true. Um, you won't just come into town and be like, everybody greets you with open arms. That's not going to happen. Um, you don't have to be the sneakiest guy ever. You just have to be smart. Come into town quietly. Who are you? Where do you come from? Oh, I'm from. He says Sonora, so I'm going to pick on Mexico City for a second. I came here from Mexico City. Ah, and why? And this has happened to me. Not so recently. Much more recently than my scenario, though. Why did you move here? Mexico City sucks. All right, the gangs, the drugs, they rule everything, and I just wanted to get away from all of it. I'm tired of having to walk down the street. I'm tired of walking down the street and having a prostitute stop me every half block. Um, and then you just keep a low profile from there. You go to the store. Maybe you go to chapel services. That would definitely help. You go, you maybe have a small side part-time job. That doesn't hurt. And remember that these people are always given special dispensation that they can avoid praying. They can drink alcohol. They can visit prostitutes, right? Because they're off to do the mission. So, yep, you have to impersonate the locals in order to get away with it. Here's your dispensation. Go have fun. You just have to be smart. Anon has brought up a very absolutely important subject. I'm sure the cartel has no problem passing terrorists through. Yeah. The connection between narco terrorism and the theocratic terrorism was uh, actually was proven like 2021, two, 10 years ago would be 2011, about 7 years ago. Um, the connection between the two is already well established. We know one has a lot to do with the other. And Anon has brought up something else. They actually idolize the Taliban. There was a video where they had a picture of bin Laden on a truck. That's interesting. I did not know that. I knew that there was a very strong connection, but idolizing bin Laden, I think I'm going to have to look into that. Unfortunately, I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not. Um, the drug cartels, really hard terrorists. They are psychopathic terrorists. And unfortunately, their Afghan counterparts, when the Taliban was rising to power, the drug lords were the ones that signed on first with this new power. They became, um, for lack of a, for lack of any other word, they became the local warlord representative to the Taliban in Kabul because Kabul gave them two choices. Either you get with Taliban gave them two choices. Either you get with the program or we kill you. And if you get with the program, you get all the benefits. If we have to kill you, we're just going to pick somebody else to take your spot, and he will get with our program. There were a few of the warlords that tried to hold out, but not that many. And in fact, most were like, hey, over here, we'd like to help you. And the Taliban had themselves a bidding war for who was going to help them the most and wipe out the opposition. So I can't even pretend to be shocked by that. That it's happening again in Mexico and Bolivia and Brazil. You'd think it would be really difficult for the cartel, despite their financial resources, to make contact with the Taliban. It's not. It's actually not. They have home addresses. They have business addresses. All right. Getting to some of the countries where the Taliban has these addresses is a little bit more difficult, but not that much more difficult. And it's really more a matter of flight restrictions. Let's take Somalia, for example. To get to Somalia from the United States, you have a journey that goes from the US to Mexico, Mexico to uh, Pakistan, Pakistan to India, India to Nigeria, Nigeria to Somalia. That's a pretty long trip. And it's not even really that complicated. You can do it in like 3 steps, four tops, but it's really, really doable. And the worst part of it would be the 6 hour car ride through Somalia to the people that you need to talk to, because you need to be riding with people that you know you can trust and are going to deliver you where you said you need to go. Money talks, just saying. Um, so, the idea that, oh, on a related note, I really don't care what they call themselves. The drug cartels, are not Christian in any sort, especially Catholic. And some of them don't even pretend to be anymore. B, they really are mindless killing monsters. Mindless killing monsters who, like other mindless killing monsters, imagine my shock. The fact that they would reach out to one another is as underwhelming as it gets. Excuse me. So yeah, that was another of this week's disasters. Is the disasters for everybody but me. I fucking told you so. I said it 3 years ago. I said it 5 years ago. Some of this I said it was 2014 is when I started working on the concept. Yeah, it didn't even have a name for it, but I floated it out on Facebook, by the way. What if the next generation of terrorism is basically mass shootings? And didn't get a lot of response, but I got a few small nuggets and I worked it from there. 2015 is when I reached out to the FBI, who never responded. Okay, well, thanks, right? Um, 2016, with the election coming, and me knowing that this is a real thing, we should probably be expecting it, flag on the play. I said we should be expecting it because I was also expecting Hillary to win, just total wipeout victory. Hi, Alpine, you walked in at the worst possible moment. Sorry. Um, expecting Hillary to have basically a wipeout victory. I knew I couldn't keep silent. I had to start talking. The weird part is I felt bad about that. Um, I'm telling the entire world that this thing is happening. I felt like I was committing an act of treason by revealing something that I had developed as a result of my service. Things that I knew about that I still haven't really talked about too much. I've been watching for this sort of thing since 2003. Back in 2003, I was thinking a little bit different a scenario. By 2014, I'd maybe 13, I'd started seeing, wait a second, there's a simpler way to do more damage. Um, sorry. In case anybody's in any way confused, I actually get really nervous up here. Right? I don't like being in front of cameras. I don't like cameras. So I have to calm myself from time to time. Uh, Howdy, Alpine. You walked in at the worst possible moment. I'm sorry. I was talking about the next generation of terrorism and how it's already started. And how the FBI apparently did not believe me, or at least not enough to even pretend to notice that I'd said something. Um, you'll have to go back and watch it later, but the Taliban confirmed this week that yeah, it's coming, or you at least you should be ready for it. There's another outfit, and I will never speak their name again, but they did some legitimate checking into this kind of question. Now, was there checking into the subject as thorough and impartial as it could and should have been? In retrospect, well, not even in retrospect. Even at the time, I was kind of maybe not, but but it was certainly completely not only plausible, but it looked like at least the one case they highlighted really did look like it was probably headed that direction. Okay, Leo says a second generation Iranian that came here legally almost shot my cousin in a mass shooting. Oh, Leo, I know the case you're talking about. I spoke about it as mandatory carry. I spoke about it as HLS, and I spoke about it as 9017. And each one I escalated the degree of vitriol. Um, for those of you that maybe are a little bit confused, Leo Willis has a cousin who was at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. Leo, correct me, this was 2 years ago, I believe, maybe three. Um, this guy was in the US legally. That part I'm pretty sure is beyond question or dispute. He did obtain a firearm, as far as I know, legally. Okay. He gets through a bad section or a broken section of fence and he shot a bunch of people. Hey, Luke. Um, I want to say 6 people died, several were injured. The shooter died as well, so like I care, that guy. Um, but yeah, he he did a lot of damage real fast. Alpine seems to think that this was the perfect moment to arrive. Honey, this was a downer moment. And Luke, I know who you are. No need for the introduction. Um, and thank you for coming by. By the way, I noticed that you subscribed yesterday. I would have thought you'd subscribed over a year ago, bro. Um, Moving on. Okay. So yeah, that's another disaster for this year. Or well, no, actually, this basically this week. We've got not quite an eyewitness, but a witness to how much damage can really be done. And I want to throw something out there because not a lot of people are going to understand or appreciate this. California is basically one big gun-free zone. Uh, you cannot carry a firearm of any sort in the state of California without a concealed carry permit. They do not recognize out-of-state permits. Um, they can deny a permit for no reason. They don't have to process it in a timely fashion. So basically, that's an eternal denial. When I lived, um, the law was still You could open carry, could not have a round in the chamber. You could have the clip in the gun, but you had to have the gun locked open. That has never struck me as really making a whole lot of sense, but okay. At very least, close the chamber, have the clip in the gun, then what? Right? You have to cycle the weapon to make it work. Who cares? Doesn't, in revolvers, you could not have a round in the magazine. Remember, the magazine of a revolver is the cylinder. Oops, Kerry does know what he's talking about sometimes. He just says it wrong to make people mad, and it always works. But let's move on. Um, that never made sense to me. Now skip on down to Gilroy in particular. This event was a specifically gun-free event. Okay, so the only people there who should have had guns were the cops. How'd that work out? I'm getting tired of having to hear myself. How did that work out? Oh, Luke is correcting me. He says he did, and he thinks YouTube kicked him off of my subscriptions. And you know what? That's a real thing. It's happened to me. So yeah, I don't even remember who it was I had to resubscribe to, but I know I did at least once. It's very frustrating. I feel you. Um, if I ever have a just shoot the shit live stream, Luke will probably be in here. So this week's biggest failure is, and I'm going to say yes, Joe Biden, no matter what happened, is the president. That's the end of it. I don't like it. I don't respect him. I don't trust him. I don't believe a word he says. Until you can prove to me that he's been impeached. Not you can prove to me that he deserves to be impeached, because I have my own opinion about what happened in November. And for those of you that remember, 2017, I think it was, World Series with banging on trash cans, you might have an idea where I think this went. But until you can prove to me that he is impeached, it's done. And I'm not saying this because YouTube will demonetize the channel, because I'm not monetized. I'm not saying this because I believe YouTube will give me another strike. They will. I'm not saying this because of anything other than I actually believe it's done. It's too late. The bell is rung. Until you can prove to me that he Okay. I am sorry about that, people. Gulch says, uh-oh. Boss asked, where'd he go? And is this a test? Well, test of something. I always seem to lose my internet connection right when I get to something spicy, so it looks like YouTube did it. And no, the Stasi did not snatch me this time, boss. It looks like YouTube did it, and no, it's just my internet sucks. We have horrible weather here right now, and unfortunately, I didn't have time to reset the router before I started today. Not that that did me any good last week, did it? You know, where are my live streams if I don't have at least one internet disconnection, right? All right, so I'm not saying this because YouTube will punish me. I'm saying this because it's true. Joe's the president now, and we need to plan accordingly. Just like back in 2016, when I was expecting Hillary to win by a long shot, I had to plan accordingly, or I was planning accordingly. Um, and when I say plan accordingly, I mean exactly that. Plan accordingly. You feel that you need to stockpile 6 months worth of those prepackaged food things that you're going to have to get an extra month's worth to actually have 6 months based on what they say. Do that. I've been leaving this bag in the background. It's not just there because I'm working on it or because it looks cool. It doesn't look cool at all. Um, I keep it there to remind people, hey, those things are out there. Might want to do something like that. Also, if you watched that video, you know what else might be in that bag. Right, we're at the 1 hour mark. And yes, Gulch, I'm back. You know what would my live streams be if I didn't have at least one internet disconnection? Is this in any way abnormal? Okay. Um, where was I? First of all, it's this week's fails. I remember when I first had the title for this week, I was thinking of a social justice fail. I don't even remember what it was now because so much other shit has happened since then. There is I'm gonna break my rule a little bit and touch on a subject that came up literally day before yesterday and say I'm not going to make assumptions about motivations until I have a conviction to compare it to. Okay, Leo. Actually, I have that video about what's in the bag up. Um, Product review 3 day bag, I think it is, or 1 man 3 day bag. I will drop a link into the description and into a comment afterwards. Um, I will not rack the chamber. We'll do something else. Yeah, and in case anybody's confused, it has come up in the past that I've been accused of this being an airsoft, partially because I tried to make it look like an airsoft to uh, cause one person to make a false allegation, and it worked. I will not crack the chamber because that will get me in trouble with YouTube. I will unload and open the action, which makes it perfectly safe. Then I will remove the bolts. Pretty sure that doesn't look like an airsoft bolt. But thank you so much, Mr. T. No, not the actor. I want to say I actually enjoyed that. And I also want to say that I was setting him up to look like a fool. This Mr. T is a mutual acquaintance, I think, of me and Luke. This one is a 10 round, yes, Luke. This is also the first round in it is a snap cap. Round that was supposed to be in the chamber was there's supposed to be a snap cap chamber because this is the stowed state. The pouch on this stock, rear stock, is a pair of 30 rounders. No, Leo, I do not have the kind of money to get a green tip. These are actually the very basic, cheapest 223s. They're not even proper 5.56s. I don't have that kind of money. I do wish I did. So no, it's I describe it as basic essential beauty. No. This is just a basic bare bones gun, and I would actually have a fixed stock if I could spend the money on that. I can't. Um, but this one I could, and I've built it towards this purpose. A situation comes up, I could grab this, walk out the door, drop the 10 on the way out the door, slap the 30 in, and go report for duty. And that's the entire purpose of it being like this. I also don't have body armor yet. I had, but it expired, and I didn't realize I was running around with 3-year-old plus 3-year-old expired body armor. Quick thing about body armor. They say it'll expire after 5 or 10 or whatever years. It's literally marked on the armor itself. Mine was marked for 5 years. Okay. I've seen people that have tested armor that's been expired as long as warranty was supposed to be in place. It's had some efficacy. I'm not saying do it, but I am saying that they tested it and it seemed to work for them. Okay, good for you. Mine was actually expired for the 5 years plus another 3. No, Leo. No. I am not throwing my 10 rounder out the window. This is actually for maintenance and storage. That's why it's all snap caps. It's to system function check. It's for systems function checks and that sort of thing. And in case anybody is confused, this is a snap cap. Now you notice it's all brown, even the tip. Why? Because it's inert. There's a little rubber plug right there that the firing pin will strike that, but the gun will not discharge under any circumstances. It can't. There's nothing there to discharge. That's the whole point of a snap cap. Next round up is real. That is not a snap cap. So I'd have to cycle it twice to get it into battery. Luke says steel plate doesn't expire. Yeah, yeah. You got $500? I don't. And Alpine says she did not know that the body armor expires. Yes. At least the Kevlar and I think the ceramics do. So, well, the ceramics are also pretty prissy. They you drop them one time and they're shattered and worthless. As Luke points out, the steel plate doesn't expire, and you can drop it and it will not shatter. The worst case scenario that I've ever actually of is it got scratched up and didn't look as pretty. So you spray it with that stuff that they hawk on TV for truck liners, and it's perfect and it's beautiful again. Uh Leo says Alpine, bend it over. I assume he means the Kevlar inserts, which I'm not sure what the point of that is. Leo, please elaborate. Moving on. So yeah, this is real. And yes, I enjoyed making a fool of somebody who's he's a dishonest idiot. So I had fun doing that. Um, for those of you that are in any way interested in knowing, Home Depot, Lowe's, all of those, they sell steel pipes, threaded steel pipes. At both ends is an orange thing it's like an open cap. That cap is intended to protect the threads in case you drop it or in case the store employee drops it. It's not intended for anything else other than that. But if you get the right size pipe, it just happens to fit on the uh, muzzle of an AR-15 or any for that matter. I should have done that with my Glock. Put the threaded barrel on, get one of those pipes that is just the right size and put it on. Watch somebody re. Um, Luke says ceramic tile can hold up, but yes, it can also break and still be good. Okay, well, you'll have to discuss that with the Department of Defense. And I think Gulch is also confused by the bend it over comment. Um, the bag project is loaded into videos. It's being expanded on, but it'll eventually be finished. Okay, Leo said, "Bro, you got fake bullets in your gun." Yeah, one is for systems checks because you don't want a real bullet in the gun when you're testing it and making sure everything's working correctly until you're down at the range, right? Um, because this stays stored, locked up for the most part. I don't want to round in it. Just reduces one potential accident. So yeah, and I've been saying for a long time that you should have snap caps. I used to say alibi rounds because I didn't know the proper term until more 2 years ago. Um, if it's not on your hip, it's either empty or it's snap caps. This also is even more so for my Glock. To disassemble a Glock, you have to drop the firing pin, which means you have to squeeze the trigger. Now, people keep saying, you can dry fire a Glock and it's no big deal. Yeah, yeah, when 100 people all tell you that you're wrong, it's time to shut up and listen. I'm still not comfortable doing it, so I put a snap cap in the gun. Then I squeeze the trigger. It'll go click, and that's it. And then I start disassembling. Leo says, "Show us you cash." I assume he means cash. If I had cash, I wouldn't be living here. Guarantee that. Um. Oh. uh, he means cachet. It's Charlie Alpha Sierra Hotel. Oh, got the E. And you just saw like 75% of it. The other 25% is the Glock 22, which has been seen on camera before, and the two spare mags for that. I mean, clips for that. And the bag. But the bag is just for my get home bag. The big exciting thing, the reason it looks kind of messed up right now is I'm putting molly straps on it. Did not come with molly straps, and I'm using that because I don't have a better term. But when I'm done, be able to mount these onto the sides. Um, at least one's going to be a first aid kit. At least one's going to be a search and rescue kit, Calium, flare, that sort of thing. And I'm actually working on the flare part of it. I'm still trying to decide how exactly that's going to work, but that's so that I can be found if I want to be. For the most part, this is just going to be for getting home when something else has gone wrong and I need to get home and I can't drive. Um, if I lived in Portland, the office where I would be working, because who I work for, would probably be right up by the where the riots happened last week. So driving home probably would not have happened. I would actually have to go out the back door, down the side street about 6 blocks just to get away from where I knew that they were all organized at, um, to get home. Then I got a 6 hour walk home. That's why the back. Oh, Alpine, you have somebody has a little crush on you. Don't worry, I like her too. Um, moving on. This week's fails. If anybody knows of anything important that I missed, please, by all means. But yeah, this week has been basically a week of fails. And I'm not even getting into some of the weirder kind of shitpost stuff like Joe Biden spoke to some reporters apparently this week, and some weird things happened with the cameras. I'm not actually going to touch on that because I'm not sure that it was what certain people are saying it was. Um, the words "the Matrix" came up. The I'm pretty sure that it was just shitty cameras being shitty cameras, which you'd think a professional wouldn't have that problem. There has also been some claims that this happened on other cameras as well. Yeah, not that easily convinced. Okay, Luke says, we are looking forward to a fun summer. Yeah, Luke, I will talk to you about that on Discord a little bit more, but I know a little bit about his history. Yeah, he's not looking forward to a fun summer. Some alternatives to carrying a gun that he might consider when he's on the job. He knows what I mean, actually. Um, Gulch and Leo are talking to each other, and Leo, you're not a mod here, and you're not a god. Matter of fact, even my business partner is not a mod on my channel. I have one mod. And the list of people that know my real name is, I can count everybody on one hand. She's known my real name since before I was mandatory carry. I'm just saying. Yeah, you're right, Leo. I have a snap cap. And what about it? Actually, I have three. I think I have a total of three, just only one in this mag. So I cycle it twice, reel round in the chamber, pop that out, put the 30 round in. You know exactly what I tell people they should be doing to prepare. Um, and by the way, I've always said you should be keeping stamp caps for all of your calibers around, and don't buy the cheap plastic ones. You will be extremely disappointed. Don't buy the expensive metal ones. You will be extremely disappointed and out of money. The cheap metal ones are proving to be the better ones, the best ones. I don't know what to say. I don't know how that happened. Um, moving on. Where were we? Oh, a little bit more of the bad news department. And this is Newsweek. Iran's Ayatollah praises Revolutionary Guard work as U.S. Alle- alleges election meddling. Now, unfortunately, this just came out apparently this morning. Oh, yeah, 2 hours ago. I haven't had a full chance to look at it. And okay, so the opening line is Khomeini lauded good activities of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard as U.S. releases a report accusing meddling in the 2020 presidential elections. So there we go. If you thought that Iran was not a threat, might want to rethink that, huh? Leo, stop being a creeper. Um, Bad enough to be a weirdo like me, but stop being a creeper. Even I don't like it. Moving on. Where was I? Yeah, so this week's disasters. No, Iran was meddling in the U.S. elections. Kind of a news flash there. No, not really. A small disaster for this week, and this is kind of a disaster all the way around. I was watching something on Smithsonian Channel, I believe it was, um, about the coronavirus. Okay, first things first. Don't believe somebody whose statement is completely. just because they made it. On that note, China swears up one side and down the other. They went through their logs. There's no way the COVID-19 escaped from their labs accidentally. Okay. Well, testing into it says maybe it moved into this other animal, which is also sold at these wet markets, and that's how it transferred into humans. Okay, you just go with that theory. I'm still not buying it. Um, for one thing, the moment you cook the meat, it's dead. That's the point of cooking the meat, is to kill all the viruses, all the bacteria, all the little nasties in it. So don't give me the shit about, oh, wet market. I don't want to hear it anymore. What it does suggest is that there was possibly a third mechanism involved that had never occurred to me. Take the virus, give it to this other animal. It looks like an probably related family, and then transfer it to humans. Leo, take it easy. You are not being evicted, by the way. Just saying. All right, moving on. Um, Now, what this also shows is that people with an agenda can come up with some really crazy ass ideas to push that agenda. Your agenda is don't blame anybody. You can really twist your brain around to come up with a way of saying it happened and this is why or this is how. And oh, yeah, by the way, it's nobody's fault. If your agenda is pointing the finger at that one and saying this was deliberate and malicious, it's not that hard. All right. Guilty. I've been on the fuck Iran train. I think longer than anybody currently in the chat has been alive. All right. It's since 1982, three, something like that, at least. Um, Although the fuck Iran uh, train has been gaining steam over years. um, Now it's just full blown uh, 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 um, bullet train mode, and I don't even mind. I admit my theory could be wrong because I am on that train, and I don't care too much. I care about the truth, and so I'm always saying it's a theory. I could be wrong. I don't think I am. Um, where was I? Oh, we have one more reason to believe that Iran is the real threat. Um, China lied. People died. That's a fact. Even the World Health Organization has said China was not honest about what was going on, and this thing got out of control. China lied. People died. Oh, were they lying from day one? Probably not. Day one, they probably thought they were telling the truth. They probably thought they were right. And then after that, it's oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. We got a bigger problem than we thought. We can't talk about this. What do we do? Um, Now we're going to lie. This weekend when I was at work, my boss asked me a very specific question about what kind of work I did. Now, how much work did I do? I told him I did X amount. He walks away. He's happy. I'm not thinking about it. I'm working and I realized, oh, wait a second. No, I didn't do X, I did X minus 1, right? The moment I realized I'd made a mistake, I'm still okay. I haven't lied to him. But if I didn't go down and track him down and tell him, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm sorry, I did a little bit less than I said I had, and this is how much less, then it would have been a lie. The analogy applies to China as well. Back in, what was it, October, I think, of last year, excuse me, 2019, year ago now, they could have stepped up. They made a mistake and said, oh, this is just a usual seasonal thing. We're not worried about it. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse. They could have stepped up at that point and said, hold up, we might have a slightly worse situation than we thought we did. They chose not to do that. Mistake is all right. We could have all done everything on earth to help them deal with this crisis and put this fire out in December of 2019 at worst. But they chose to lie about it instead. That's not good. I'm going to catch up with the chat. Oh, Leo, sorry. Leo says, look up Casual Crooks Iran disc. If I remember to. Gulch says, they've been on my radar since 72. Oh, Gulch, I thought you were younger than me. I honestly thought you were younger than me. You're going to have to remind me of that every time. Leo, beep, 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 which I'm not even sure what that was. Leo says, what happened in 72? And Gulch says, that's when she moved to Saudi. 72. Also, the Iranian Revolution coup happened in 79. I was about this big at the time, but I remember hearing about it. Even as young as I was, I kind of had some idea that something was going on. In 80, I'm just old enough to start understanding what's going on, or at least some concept of what's going on. And that's when I started looking at them thinking, what is all that? Hmm. 82, I think, was the year that the Great Satan speech came out. Okay, fuck you too. And I have to admit that before that, I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I guess it's kind of cool because, you're live, I think, at the time. But then you hear somebody say something like this. Fuck you too. That's when I got the first call for boarding onto the fuck Iran train. And I got on quick. Okay, those are the rest of that's between Leo and Gulch and does not involve me, really. Um, so now we know by his own admission. Um, I'm sorry, I want to pronounce it correctly. Khamenei, Ayatollah Khamenei, has declared that yes, we interfered in the U.S. elections. Big surprise. Actually, that is kind of a surprise. Um, I would have thought that they'd continue to let other people take the fall. And that's something that Iran is big about. They they're doing X, Y, and Z. They're funding insurgents in Iraq. They're uh, um, so, sorry, they're boarding British ships. This, that, the other thing. They are really good about anytime they can. They let somebody else take the fall for it. Right now, they're really good about letting the DNC take the fall for the things that they're doing in the US. And I mean, do you blame them? Let somebody else take the blame. They're the biggest suppliers of sex slaves, of underage, uh, of kitty porn, of kitty sex slaves in the world because they have the whole of their government helping them do it. Even if it's illegal in Iran, they're doing it to everybody else, so they don't care as much. Hey, we're just selling Afghan slaves, or we're just selling uh, Russian girls, all right, or we're just selling German kitty porn. It's not. We didn't make it. We're just selling something that's already out there. That was Epstein's big mistake. His job was not to sample product. His job was to provide the fallback point when things started to go south. He chose to sample product. He chose to get everybody else, put everybody else in danger, to become a weak link. That was his big mistake. Yeah, I just said that. Whether he committed suicide, whether he's murdered, at this point, I don't care. Because these are the sort of people that you choose suicide over the way they're going to kill you if you have a choice. There's also a certain cultish aspect. Leo, that's a stupid question. I don't care who that was directed. It was just a dumb question. Um, there's also a certain cultish aspect. Um, you don't, when you're part of a cult, your dedication is to that cult and to protecting it first. And if you know you're in deep, deep shit, you might choose to kill yourself rather than bring the cult down with you. I believe that's what happened with Vince Foster. He figured out what he was really into and realized how deep into it he was. He went out to a park bench. And I've kind of vaguely suspected something was going on ever since the first reports came out. This, what was it, 92, 3, 4, 93 ish. Gee, what would cause a member of the White House to kill himself? What would do that? Fear would do it. Um, Shame would do it. Loyalty would do it. I think he chose that as his solution because he knew he would never get away with anything that he had done. Um, I'm not going to read that out loud. Under the more good news departments, actually, the less good news, the less bad news. Okay, the next 6 months absolutely are going to increasingly suck. Luke nailed it. They're already prepping for a siege, an internal siege that might make Stalingrad and Leningrad look relatively benign by comparison. Luke, if I had a place outside of town for you to go to, I'd have keys sitting under a rock waiting for you. I don't in your neck of the woods. I'm sorry. Um, so make friends outside of town and at least an hour outside of any town, right? There's a certain individual up in Washington State that has a standing invitation to come to my fallback point if, well, if she needs to, or if she feels she needs to. I just hope she brings a camper with her because that would make things a lot more convenient for her and her family. Um, the where was I? Um, personally, first of all, I am associated with my county sheriff's office, so I have to go first. When they release us, which will happen when they realize that the situation is beyond their control, if I can make it back to my fallback point, that's where I'm going. It is a lot more than a day's walk. I'm not even considering that issue at this point. That thing has 1 day's worth of food in it, and that's all I can do. So it's just going to have to make it the 4 days that it'll take me to walk from Reno to Papa Carey's place. Luke, you could not have said it better if you tried. Luke says, I think I'll be okay. Well, it's not just you need to consider. I'll leave it at that. I don't want anything bad to happen, but you can't stop mob mentality. Well, actually, you kind of can. Um, it's called superior firepower. Unfortunately, Antifa, especially, has been bragging about their access to guns, and I'm going to let you all in on a secret. If you ever see that John Brown Club shooting day video, I believe it was filmed in Arizona. What they showed you is what they wanted you to see. They wanted you to see them looking clumsy and looking stupid. I don't think they are that clumsy. I don't think they are that stupid. I think they staged it to look like what they wanted it to, right down to the one guy turning around looking at the camera like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Um, I believe that they have illegally converted home built AKs. There, I said it. Rather hypocritical of them to have that kind of firepower, as they're saying nobody else can either. The leader of that faction, the guy from North Carolina, college professor. I know it's been claimed that he has a coat hanger conversion kit. I've never spoken to him. I've never seen anything he's supposedly been associated with that I could prove was actually his. I seen a screenshot of supposedly him, supposedly making this comment. I can't prove it's him. I can't prove it's his comment. I can say I know that this has been alleged. Luke, don't answer that. Leo, he's close enough to a hot zone that I don't envy him. Close enough to a hot zone that I don't envy him. Leo, you've been in this channel before. You should know better than thinking I'm going to let people dox themselves. Come on. I've kicked Troll's comments before for that, and Troll gets away with almost anything here. Luke knows exactly how this channel operates when he says, "Lol, I'm not in a great place." He's not in a great place at all. All right. We're at about 15 minutes. So ask a question. I will answer. No, I did not freeze. I actually lost my internet connection again. We're having shit weather here. And no, it was not the YouTube gods this time, or the Gestapo, or any of that. It was my connection here sucks. Um, so can't blame that on YouTube. I can only blame that on my service connection. All right, so toss if you got them, toss some questions in the comments. I'm going to leave it open for an extra couple minutes because of that second disconnection. Um, okay, here we go. I'm going to say this much: get by any means necessary a Glock 22. Get a 9mm drop-in barrel for it. That's your maximum flexibility under all real world conditions. Second in line might be a whatever your local cops carry. If they don't carry Glock 17 or 22, whatever they do carry. Um, get an AR. That's unfortunately for those of you that hate ARs, that's the most flexible option you can get. And get the real 5.56 barrels, not the 223 barrels. There's a difference. You don't want to have your gun grenade on you. In a pack. Just carry it in your car if you have to. Leo says he can't blame the gods. They have given me so many blessings. I wonder what those blessings were. Little shout out to Troll. I know you're still listening in. For those of you that don't know, Great Sky Troll Anti-Drama got fucking screwed on a land deal. So if you all could say a prayer for him to recover. Luke asked, did anyone get some of their money back from the government yet? I never got last year's relief checks. Yeah, no, I never also never got my income tax return. I'm wondering whose waste paper basket I'm sitting at the bottom of. Yeah, I just said that out loud. Um, those of you that know, I am involved in a little project related to a warehouse. Help with that project would be greatly appreciated. I'm I'm one of the investors in that project. Just saying. All right. Questions, answers. We've got 10 minutes, absolutely, and a few minutes on top of it that I'm just electively doing. During that last internet disconnection, put that back together. Leo, good for you. I'm just going to say it that way. Good for you. If you can cash them, so much better. Luke says he's still waiting on the checks. Last year's or this year's? Because I'm not going to get this year's either. I pissed off the right people. I'm not getting my check. They're making sure of it. Um, State of California keeps coming after me about my Oregon income from 2015. I didn't live in California in 2015. I passed through the state on my way down to Texas, which I never even made it that far. And they want 800 or 1,000 or whatever dollars, and I keep telling them go themselves. Well, now if you think the state tax agencies don't work with federal tax agencies, you're a fool. All right. So they turned around and told their buddies over at IRS, hey, this guy's a troublemaker, don't help him. A lot of them, it's literally this minute you're a California Franchise Tax Board employee, 5 minutes later, you're an IRS employee, 10 minutes after that, you're an employee of Florida Income Tax Agency. All right, it's just a data processing center, and they just all they really have to do is track what were your working minutes. Well, they can do that automatically. Luke, I hope you get the money. I really do. Even though it's a shit amount that should have been twice as much. What can I say? We all know it, but we also know that everything Joe promised was a lie. I don't know why people are continuing to defend this ridiculousness. And I'm just saying it's pretty obvious there's no reality in any of it. And why do they bother? But whatever. Um, Leo, email me. If you can make it worth my while, I might do it. Luke asks, is anyone here getting their hands on some precious metals? Do you mean gold or lead? Either way, I'm not. And for those of you that can, more power to you. And let me see it. Oh, Anon, you still out there? I want to hear you ask a question. Oop, let me get my. Luke says not lead. Okay. Anon, if you're still out there, I want you to ask a question. Um, Kind of a strange and interesting thing. Anon Anarchy. His name implies he's an anarchist. Case though, it might have just been a cool username. I think Luke can testify to this. When he first, him and the rest of the bathtub crowd first saw me walk in and they see this new name, Mandatory Carry, they're like, wow, that's kind of a cool name. And that's all they thought at first. And then I turned into turned out to be very serious and that it's not just a cool name. Troll says, I am a strange and interesting thing. No, you're not that strange. You are that interesting, though. And of course, Gulch is here. I know you're here, honey, because you're going to be either here or at Drew's. You and Buckle. Um, and I think you've actually been in the stream at the same time once. Yeah, see, Luke's verified. It is a cool name. Um, yeah, guys, a prayer for Troll if you can. Leo, stop being a creeper. When someone like me is saying that's creepy, that's a bad sign, bro. Come on. I know Alpine can handle you, right? But oh my god, I think Alpine would hurt you if she didn't care about me getting in trouble with her. Leo, that's not going to happen. Come on. Okay, let me get at least one more question, guys. Come on. One of you's got to have something that you're burning to know. And then I think we can wrap it up about. No, Leo, that's not going to happen. Um, Me Takayo, my only moderator, the only moderator on this channel, only got it because I trust her literally with my life and my real name. Yeah, Alpine, I know you can handle him. Just don't hurt him, please, for my sake. Don't use the kind of language I would use and I have used. Okay, I'm gonna pick on Luke. Luke, ask a question. Luke says, I don't want to be a mod. Luke, I love you, but no, you're not going to be a mod on this channel. Um, well, let me rephrase that. It could happen, but not anytime soon. Okay, Alpine asks, do you think Israel will take care of Iran? No, they will do nothing of the sort. And that's not because of cowardice or anything else. Um, and for those of you that are old enough to remember the 91 Gulf War, Saddam tried to turn it into a anti-Israel war by just launching Scuds at Israel and hoping they hit something. Literally, that was it. He was hoping they'd hit something. Israel would respond in kind, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's those damn Israelis, those damn Jews that started this war, and everybody would turn on Israel, or at least that was his hope. It didn't work out that way. Israel backed up and said, no, no, no. We know the game you're trying to play with us. We're not going to do that. Um, Israel is not going to deal with Iran because it's the exact same thing. And just because Iran is really, really hated in that part of the world, like everybody except I think Qatar hates them, doesn't mean they like Iran or Israel any better. Saudi Arabia in a fight between Israel and Iran, probably going to just sit there and growl at both of them. Kuwait in a fight between the two of them is going to just kind of quietly not care about what Israel is doing as long as it's not too outrageous. And Iran, they really, really hate. Pretty much everybody else, Egypt, oh, no, I'm sorry. Jordan would probably sit there and watch Israeli jets go over their airspace and just politely ignore it. That's about it. Um, they're just nobody really likes Israel any more than they do Iran. And Iran will point at them and say, "See, it's those Jews again. They're bombing our cities." It won't even matter to everybody else who actually started this or how. At best case scenarios, they're all going to sit on their hands and let the two of them fight it out. Leo says Israel would have to nuke Iran. That's possible. What most people don't understand is Iran has their own nukes. They're um, they're crude by comparison, but they have their own nukes. And he asked, Skytroll, what's 8x4? Wood size, 8 inches wide, 4 inches thick. Usually used for structural members. Troll, if that's not what you meant, feel free to correct me. It's also not elsewhere in the comments that I can find. Oh my God, I think I'm about to lose my internet again. Okay, if it goes out again, end of live stream. Sorry, guys. I'm going to push this till about 10 after if my internet can stay up that long. We're having shit ass weather. I I I do drive to work, but I really shouldn't be. I have to drive to work because it's too far away. Alpine Gulch says maybe they have a tunnel dug already. Who is they and tunnel to where? Hey, aren't you guys supposed to be asking the questions and me answering them? Leo, do you understand just how creepy you sound? You're hitting on a complete stranger on the internet that you've never even seen. Come on. Leo, I let you get away with it because I know you're trying to get banned from the channel, or at least get comments removed. All right. And it's kind of like when the 2-year-old runs around saying fuck for the first time because it's a new word. Let it go. Just let it go. Thank you, Alpine. By the way, that's not money. Just saying. If, if you're going to sexually harass somebody, at least sexually harass the person you meant to. All right. Actually, that's kind of an end of. Wait a minute. I just learned something. Leo, I shouldn't have to tell you 3 times. Come on. You know better. Oh, hey, Outer. You were just in time to see the end. So, guess who just volunteered to ask the last question? That's interesting. Normally, StreamYard shows me the messages before YouTube. This time, YouTube got it first. Yes, Troll, that was the first time out you've ever seen on this channel. I didn't even like doing it, but Leo, come on. You know better. Outer, ask a question. Any question. We don't actually care. Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Outer asks, what guns that at the back of you? M4? No, it is an AR-15. I do not have a class 3 permit or license or whatever it is. I do not have any class 3 stamps. I've never I've touched an M16 when I was in the service. I've never actually seen an M4 that I know of. I mean, it might have happened, but um, nope. That's just a standard. Excuse me, just a standard AR-15. The barrel is deceptive because it's a quote full length barrel, but mid length forward stock, which that's what I could get at the time. I'm still, I still don't like it. Troll says he considered it, but was distracted by an interesting beetle. Okay. All right, guys. I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Have your plan to evacuate and to be able to be on the move in 15 minutes, no matter where you are, ready to roll at all times. bug out bag in your car or at home where you can get to it. Yeah, have a gun. Um, uh, um, and a place to go. That's the biggest thing. Have a place to go. You could stockpile 1 million rounds of ammo at your place to go. But you got to have it to go to. All right. Joel, I'm sorry about your mosquitoes. Depending on where you are, I know that can. Camp Lejeune, I know what the mosquitoes there are like. Uh, Hold your breath there, Luke. All right. In the meantime, keep calm and mandatory carry on.